A young girl stood by an overflowing trash bin, her little brother clinging to her sleeve. She pulled out a half-crumpled snack bag and turned to the man nearby. "Do you think this is still good to eat?" she asked quietly. "We're starving." The man froze. In that single moment, something deep inside him shifted. The clock on the office wall blinked 11:54 p.m. David Roberts leaned back in his chair and rubbed his eyes, fatigue settling into the fine lines that had begun to form around them. At 40, his reflection still carried traces of youth, but the weight of years spent chasing success showed in the set of his jaw and the tired slump of his shoulders. His office tower loomed high above the city of glass, steel, and silence. Most lights were off by now. He gathered the last of his files, sliding them into his briefcase, but instead of heading to the parking lot, he paused. Sarah wouldn't be home yet. She had mentioned dinner with a friend. The thought of returning to an empty apartment felt unbearable. He grabbed his jacket. Maybe a walk would clear his head. The elevator hummed as it descended, revealing a city glittering with a million careless lights. It could have been New York, London, Tokyo. It didn't matter. In every great metropolis, people like him built empires while others struggled just to survive. "Good evening, Mr. Roberts," the security guard greeted. "Evening, Charlie. How's your daughter?" "Better, sir. That doctor you recommended worked wonders." "I can't thank you enough." David smiled faintly, waving the thanks away. Acts of generosity were easy when one had money to spare. Still, the question lingered. Were his good deeds kindness, or simply a way to quiet the guilt that success often brought? The glass door slid open. Cool night air brushed against his face as he loosened his tie and walked without direction. The city pulsed around him, cars, voices, neon. Normally it energized him, but tonight he felt detached, like a ghost watching his own life from a distance. That emptiness had been growing for months now, despite the company thriving, the accounts swelling, and every goal achieved. Something was missing. Sarah had noticed too. Just last week, over breakfast, she'd asked if he was okay. "Just tired," he'd said. But the truth was heavier than fatigue. They had been married 6 years. Once, they had been a picture of a modern love story. He, the ambitious entrepreneur; she, the gifted architect who could redesign a space with a few strokes and a smile. But time, and disappointment, had changed them. They had tried for children, specialists, treatments, endless hope, until the hope ran out. Eventually, the subject simply vanished from their conversations, leaving the quiet ache neither dared to name. Lost in thought, David turned down a quieter street. A man approached, hand outstretched. David handed him a few bills automatically, barely looking up. "God bless you," the man murmured. The words lingered long after David moved on. His phone buzzed. Jackson, his business partner, probably about tomorrow's meeting with the Asian investors. David stared at the screen, then pocketed it. Whatever it was, it could wait. He passed by a row of shuttered kiosks when something caught his eye. Movement. Small, quick. At first, he thought it was an animal. Then he saw Amy, 2 children digging through the trash. He stopped. The girl couldn't have been more than 5. The boy clung to her hand. Barely 3. They were dirty, thin, but not beyond hope. The girl had tied her tangled hair with a faded bow. The boy held a broken toy car. David approached slowly. "Hey," he said softly. The girl jumped, shielding her brother. Her voice was small but firm. "We're not doing anything wrong. We're just looking for food." Those words hit harder than any corporate failure ever could. "Are you hungry?" he asked, kneeling slightly. The boy looked at his sister, waiting for her to answer. "We can manage," she said, but her voice trembled when her brother's stomach growled. "I was about to grab dinner," David said gently. "There's a diner around the corner. Want to join me?" The girl hesitated, torn between pride and need. The boy tugged on her sleeve. "Luke's really hungry," she whispered. "My name's David," he said. "What's yours?" "Lily," she replied cautiously. "This is my brother, Luke. He's 3. I'm 5.5. Something about that half broke him a little. 5 years old. Already the protector." The diner was warm and bright. The waitress gave them a curious glance as David helped them into a booth. "What would you like?" he asked. "Anything," Lily said. "How about burgers and milkshakes?" Luke's eyes lit up. Lily tried to stay composed but smiled anyway. As they ate, David learned pieces of their story. Their grandmother had vanished weeks ago after leaving to buy medicine. Their mother had become a star. Lily explained her innocent way of saying she had passed away. Their father had never been in the picture. David sat in silence, listening, trying not to let the emotion show. When they finished, he asked, "Do you have somewhere to sleep tonight?" Lily's expression hardened. "We have places." "Safe places?" She said nothing, but the silence told him enough. He wanted to take them home right then, but he couldn't, not without thinking. There were legal risks, questions. "Sarah, you could stay at a shelter," he offered. "They'd take care of you." "They'd separate us," Lily said quietly. "Luke needs me." The words stopped him cold. He ordered a dessert ice cream for them, coffee for himself, buying time to think. "You're very kind," Lily said at last. "People don't usually stop. They just walk by and pretend they don't see us." Her words struck deeper than she could know. How many times had he done exactly that? When they were done, he pulled out his wallet, handed her some cash. "Find a motel tonight," he said. "Please." She hesitated, then took it. "Meet me here tomorrow at 10, he added. "We'll figure something out." "Are you really coming back?" she asked. "I promise." He watched them leave it, two small shadows disappearing into the city. Luke looked back once, waving. Lily didn't. When David got home, Sarah was curled. Morning light spilled through the city skyline as David parked his car near the diner. He had barely slept. Every few hours, he had checked his phone, half expecting a call that never came. The moment the clock hit 9:30, he was already waiting. He ordered a coffee but didn't touch it. His eyes stayed fixed on the door. 10 o'clock came, then 10:15. His stomach tightened. What if they didn't come? What if something had happened? He was about to stand up when he saw them. Lily appeared first, holding Luke's hand tightly. They were wearing the same clothes as the night before, but their faces lit up when they saw him. "You came," she said, almost surprised. "I promised, didn't I?" David smiled, crouching to Luke's level. "How are you feeling, buddy?" "Hungry," Luke mumbled. David laughed softly. "Then let's fix that." They sat at the same booth as before. The waitress recognized them and smiled, bringing water without being asked. As the children ate, David tried to keep the conversation light. He didn't want to overwhelm them. "Did you find somewhere safe to sleep last night?" Lily nodded. "A man at the motel let us stay in a room because you gave us money. He was nice." Luke got to take a bath. David smiled faintly. "That's good. You both deserve a safe place every night, not just one." Lily tilted her head. "Why are you helping us?" The question caught him off guard. He paused. "Because someone should have a long time ago." After breakfast, David led them to a nearby store. "We need to get you two some new clothes," he said lightly. Lily hesitated. "You don't have to." "I know," David replied, "but I want to." He watched them move through the aisles, Luke running his fingers over the bright sneakers, Lily carefully choosing a plain blue dress instead of the pink one Sarah would have picked for her. She was practical even at 5. At the counter, when the cashier asked, "Are these your kids?" David hesitated for the briefest second, then he simply said, "Yes." Back in the car, Lily clutched the small paper bag to her chest. "Thank you," she said. "We'll pay you back one day." "You don't owe me anything," David said. She frowned thoughtfully. "Grandma said good people help because it makes the world fairer." "Your grandma was a wise woman," he murmured. They spent the afternoon at the park. Luke chased pigeons while Lily sat beside David on a bench, swinging her legs. "Do you have kids?" she asked suddenly. He hesitated. "No," he said quietly. "We tried, but it didn't happen." "Oh." Lily looked down, thoughtful. "That's sad." David smiled faintly. "Yeah, it was." There was a long silence before she spoke again. "You could be our friend." Her words were so simple, yet they hit him like a promise. When evening came, he couldn't bear to send them back to the streets. "Would you like to meet my wife?" he asked gently. "She'd love to meet you both." Lily looked uncertain. "Will she be mad?" "No," he said, smiling. "She's kind. I think she'll like you." Sarah opened the door, expecting delivery or a neighbor. Instead, she found her husband standing with 2 small children at his side. "Sarah," David said softly, "this is Lily and Luke." Sarah blinked, surprise softening into warmth as she knelt to greet them. "Hi there," she said gently. You must be the brave ones David told me about. Luke hid behind Lily, who squared her shoulders and said, We're not scared. I can see that. Sarah smiled. Come in. You look like you could use a warm meal. As they stepped inside, something in the air shifted a quiet, almost invisible click, like the universe setting something right that had been wrong for too long. That night, as the children fell asleep on the couch wrapped in blankets, David and Sarah stood by the doorway watching them. They trust you, Sarah whispered. I trust them, David replied. Sarah looked at him for a long time, eyes glistening. Maybe this is the family we were meant to find. David turned to her, his voice low. Certain, maybe it is. Outside, the city kept rushing. People, cars, lights. But inside that small apartment, everything had finally slowed down. Morning came softly, sunlight spilling through the curtains. The smell of coffee filled the air as Sarah moved quietly around the kitchen. On the couch, Lily and Luke were still asleep, tangled under the same blanket. David stood at the doorway, watching them. For a moment, it felt like any other family morning, at a kind they had imagined years ago but never had. Sarah looked up at him. You didn't sleep either, did you? He shook his head. Didn't want to. I kept thinking a broken bar. What happens next? Sarah glanced at the children, her expression tender. We give them breakfast. We let them be kids for one more day. They did just that. Sarah made pancakes. Luke devoured his, while Lily asked if she could help with the dishes. The laughter that filled their kitchen felt foreign but good. Fragile, like a song they hadn't heard in years. But peace never lasts long when the world still has rules. That afternoon, there was a knock at the door. David opened it to find a woman in a gray coat, holding a clipboard. Her tone was polite but official. Mr. Cole, I'm from Child Protective Services. We received a report about 2 minors possibly in your care. David's stomach dropped. Who called you? I can't disclose that, sir. May I come in? Sarah stepped forward. They're safe here, she said quickly. We just wanted to help. The woman nodded, scanning the living room where the children were sitting, wide-eyed. I understand, ma'am, but if these children were found without guardians, we need to follow protocol. Lily's small voice broke the silence. We don't want to go. The social worker crouched to her level. Sweetheart, no one wants to hurt you. We just need to make sure you're safe. David knelt beside them. They are safe, with us. But rules were rules. Within the hour, the children were escorted to a temporary foster facility until placement could be reviewed. As the door closed behind the social worker's car, Sarah stood frozen in the hallway, tears streaming silently down her face. David's fists clenched at his sides. I shouldn't have let them take them, he said hoarsely. There was nothing you could do, Sarah whispered. But we're not giving up. That night, their home felt painfully empty. The couch where the children had slept was neatly folded, the tiny cup Lily used for juice still sitting in the sink. David sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. I didn't realize how quiet this place was before they came. Sarah sat beside him, her voice steady. Then we make some noise. Tomorrow, we start the paperwork. We'll do whatever it takes to bring them home. And they did. Days turned into weeks of forms, interviews, and background checks. The system moved slowly, full of barriers, but every time David wanted to give up, he remembered Lily's small hand in his, the way Luke had laughed over pancakes. One afternoon, they were finally called into the office for a hearing. Across the table sat the same social worker, her tone gentler this time. Mr. and Mrs. Cole, she began, we've reviewed your case. Given your stable home and the children's attachment to you, we're recommending temporary guardianship pending full adoption review. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. David's eyes closed for a moment, relief washing through him like a tide. When can we see them? He asked. Tomorrow morning. The next day, Lily ran into his arms before he could even speak. Luke clung to Sarah, whispering, I missed you. David looked over at Sarah, and for the first time in years, the ache in their hearts began to heal. Welcome home, he whispered. Lily smiled up at him. You kept your promise. He smiled back, his voice breaking. Always. Outside, the city kept rushing as before, but inside their little world, everything had finally slowed down again, wrapped in the fragile warmth of a family being reborn.